have a whole series of maps from students' senior years of high school, which shows that the stress of waiting to hear from colleges is really horrific. Same thing when we apply for a new job. The waiting to hear is the worst part because we have neither certainty nor control. We get the job, we feel great. We don't get the job, interestingly, we feel better. Why? Because we now have certainty that we didn't have before. When I talk to cancer patients, they tell me the same thing. The worst part is the wait. Even people who've received horrific diagnoses, it's like, now I at least know what I'm facing. As I said, college students or high school students tell me what they are. But again, I had one student one year, she put breaking her ankle right next to waiting to hear from colleges. So again, that comparability of feelings is important. They also tell me prom and spring break are always in the upper right-hand corner unless the date is a dud, and then that's a whole different story. So senior year moves us around, real life moves us around. And this is where I get so frustrated with those self-help people who say, have confidence, you'll have confidence forever. That's crap. It's not about having confidence. Success in life is about being able to navigate whatever box you're in and getting back to the comfort zone. Other thing that frustrates me with a lot of self-help folks is, have confidence, you'll be successful. That's not true either. Confidence comes with being successful. Success comes from how we act when we don't have confidence, how we navigate from the stress center back to the comfort zone. When we talk about confidence, we associate it with having none, some, and too much. It sort of comes in three sizes. And, you know, we say we don't have confidence, we have some confidence, we are overconfident. What we don't realize is that the opposite of confidence is vulnerability. And since somebody mentioned Brené Brown earlier in a conversation, I want to be clear that when I talk about vulnerability, I'm talking about it in an involuntary way. We cannot choose to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is an involuntary experience because it means that certainty and control have been taken from us somehow. I can choose to be vulnerable. That's different than being forced into it. And choosing to be vulnerable typically means being moved into the launch pad, like when I'm learning to ski. I can choose to go down a trail that I haven't done before. That's very different from the vulnerability that arises during things like the pandemic. Why do I talk about vulnerability? Because vulnerability becomes a really useful way in understanding people's behavior when they're in the stress center. What creates anxiety and stress is that we somehow feel vulnerable. And we can look at this now as a spectrum, not of overconfidence to not having confidence, but from invulnerability to feeling defeated, which is that low point. That sense of powerlessness and uncertainty. What you find is underlying that is typically a feeling of scarcity in something that matters versus abundance in those same things. And scarcity is a really important element to understand why people are behaving the way they're behaving. Because when things are scarce, that means there's not enough of it, which means I might want more of it from you. And in the workplace and in life, scarcity and abundance can relate to time. It's very different if I give you a test that you have to take in the next 10 minutes versus a test that you can choose to finish it whenever you want. It could be related to health. It could be related to safety, money, power. In the workplace, it could be voice. It could be a sense of scarcity in terms of gender, race, mentorship. Other people have that, I don't. And so this can be subtle, it can be obvious, but it's going to impact how people deal with each other and with you because of the dynamic of who has scarcity, who has abundance in that moment. Whether I put you on an airplane that's experiencing turbulence or a roller coaster, or I come into your office and tell you you now need to work the weekend, your focus is entirely on me here now. And me here now become useful measures of what we want because we are stars of our own movie, particularly in a crisis. And what I've discovered is that as I change your level of confidence, it changes your interests in having relationships. We do turn inward when confidence is low versus building bridges and engaging with others. It changes my focus geographically. Exploration is one of the best measures of confidence. We go to the moon and now Mars when confidence is high. And our focus on the future. Which means that if you're doing strategic planning, you're feeling confident. If you're responding to a crisis in that moment, being very tactical and responsive, you're not. Strategic planning is one of the best clues I know of how an organization feels. And if you're doing a 20, 50, 100-year plan, I know you're feeling overconfident, and you need to be careful. Same thing with planning in general. Travel planning is a great clue on how people feel. And I'll come back to that because we can see that in real time. And the reality is, and this ties back to our cognitive processing, when confidence is low, I need things to be concrete. And I'll accept and engage in possibility and abstraction when confidence is high. I call this horizon preference. And it's entirely related to how we feel in terms of our levels of confidence. And again, it expands and shrinks based on where we are. When confidence is low, we want me here now familiar. So we can now look at the world around us, and I can look at K-cups. Those silly little individual things, right? Me here now coffee. Netflix. Me here now movies. iPods, I this, I that, right? Me here now technology. We have a whole infrastructure of industry today designed to cater to our relatively low confidence uncertainty. And if you're trying to deliver to people who are in that stress center, it better be oriented to me here now, because that's what they crave and need. If you go into an emergency room, you're not exactly thrilled that they're dealing with others. You want them to be dealing with you now. On the other hand, when confidence is high, the things we like, crave, is about possibility. High abstraction in lots of places. And again, we go back and forth in business and in economic cycles. This is a chart I use in my class, the preference between risk and return. I think a better way of looking at it is the risk we're willing to take versus the return, which means also our confidence level. And so I can look at this now, what are investors buying? Because that changes with their level of confidence. In fact, when people were buying NFTs and crypto and all of that weird stuff during 2021, I was like, yeah, we're off the charts. It's a bubble in abstraction. Nobody knows what the heck it is. They can't explain it, but God, you had to have it. It was raining money, thanks to the New York Times for that image. But this raises a question that's really important for you as business people. As economists, I'm supposed to care about the relationship to price and quantity. In economics, we talk about this as price elasticity. If I change the price, what is that doing to the amount that people want and buy? I think that's the stupidest thing you can focus on. It's interesting, but it's not relevant. And whether it's your prices are elastic or inelastic doesn't matter as much as what happens to demand as confidence changes? Do people want more or less of what you're selling based on how they feel? And this is critically important if you're running a business. How sensitive is your business to changes in consumer sentiment, to confidence specifically to what you're selling, because it drives, and they matter because stories are everywhere. The media's job every day is to deliver a story that mirrors the mood of the reader. Our media in all forms today caters to what we want, what we believe to be true. And so in early 2018, I used this slide at a presentation to a group of investors. The person in the middle was the then CEO of Boeing, Dennis Muilenburg. And I had just seen this huge, beautiful cluster of articles, Business Week cover. The cover, by the way, looks like that. You open it up, the article's headline was, "How Boeing is Killing It." Pretty awkward. So I present to them and I say to the audience, I don't know what the problem will be, but this is a company that has a huge problem. Everybody wants the product. There's no tomorrow. We've deified the CEO. And the stock price looks like this. We all know what happened. Again, I didn't know what would happen, but it was pretty clear that there was extraordinary abundance in everything, including the stories people were telling about Boeing. The media is telling you how we feel every day. Look at the media, not to look at the media, but to look at what is the media saying. I use the media all the time. With investors, I love things that say can't stop, won't stop. It's like it's going to stop like a bus hit it. Time magazine puts a cover, who can stop Hillary Clinton? It's like, that's the end. And it's not a political statement, it's just a sentiment statement. Unstoppable is the beginning of the end of whatever it is going on. Again, our actions, feelings matter. My last point, all of your business decisions are made in the launch pad. And what we don't appreciate is that those stories are based on the stories we tell about the outcome we imagine. We assign probabilities to the outcome in terms of will I end up in the stress center or in the comfort zone as a result. And those stories mirror how we feel. Our imagination of the future is telling us what we imagine to be and therefore what we'll do. If I assign a high probability to ending up in the comfort zone, I'll do it. If I assign a low probability or a high probability of ending up in the stress center, I won't do it. It's a terrible way to make decisions, and we do it all the time. The future is inherently unknown, has always been unknown. The more vivid your imagination of the outcome, the more you're deceiving yourself, good and bad.